grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be always with you.
Welcome, and also a number of thank yous. The first people, of course, we want to welcome and give a special thank you for. This is your day, and it's our day to remember and thank you, the war veterans. I'll call out the names of the respective gentlemen who are in the front row. Leo Downey, Canadian Air Force, World War II. Laurie Arshell, Canadian Army, World War II. Jim Morris, Korean War, Canadian Army. Lloyd McLeod, Canadian Army, Korean War. And Ed Walker, representing the Legion. And a most warm welcome to all of you. Also, I ask your prayers and remembrance for Matt Coffey, who is normally with us, who is very ill. To the community and all of you, thank you for coming and supporting us. To Father Beachy for his flexibility and support, because without that, we could not have a meaningful Remembrance Day. Our community is just too small. To the flag bearers, the choir, the RA for their effort in the hall, the Sheenboro municipality, many thanks. This is a real community effort, and we're very proud of it. To Dr. Dan Cameron, our piper, who came up from Ottawa, and we really appreciate his support. To the Royal Canadian Regiment, you offer real dignity to our program. We'd like to see you, and you've been very supportive over the years. As I said last year, the way the crow flies, you're about 10 kilometers away, but the Ottawa River makes quite a barrier. Without that Ottawa River, perhaps it wouldn't be a Canadian military camp over there. For those of us who live close to the river, I can tell you, we know that you're training very hard, and you're making lots of noise, but we're pretty well tuned into it. You have our support, and we really appreciate what you're doing. To the Knights of Columbus, again, they've always come and supported us, even though in many cases they're invited to attend several places the same day. To our politicians, to our warden and our mayors, the neighboring mayors, who we work with closely, and who are supportive of Remembrance Day and the veterans, a welcome. Some may be still in Elmwood Island, but I think most are here, so I will call out some names. To Mike McCrank, our warden, who was always supportive of our Remembrance on July 1st Day. Don Donahue, Mayor of Chichester. Winston Sunstone, Elmwood Island. Gary Marshall of Walton. And from Sheenboro, Dick Edwards of Waipiro. Got to tell you a little story. As you may know, we had a 94% turnout in the municipal elections last Sunday. 94%. This has got to be a record of all Quebec, if not Canada. So our committee decided if we would turn out like that for 1 week only, we deserve 2 mayors. Big Edwards and Waipiro. Now, the final procedure of the program is well laid out in your program. After our dedication, we'll have the Song of the Soldiers. Then Dr. Cameron will lead as piper, lead the veterans and the soldiers and the dignitaries out of the church. And we'll all follow, and the program will be out at the monument. And it's pretty well step-by-step in the bulletin. Following that, you're invited to lunch in the hall. My last task is a few words about dedication. For the last 8 years, we've chosen 1 or 2 veterans, soldiers, male, female. We have 2 female nurses. And we spoke about them because we feel that if you bring the real history of the war to the people, especially as related by the families, it has much more meaning. You may be aware that this past July, the last soldier, Canadian soldier of World War I died. I believe he was 113 years old. And he was serving in the United States, but he was a Canadian who fought in the war. The fact that our veterans are passing on creates a challenge that we remember. I think this year we have a special situation where the Fox family and their relatives have come forward and will speak about Michael Fox, who fought and died in World War I. I think this gives special meaning to us to remember. So now I'm going to call on the grandnephew, Michael Fox, to come up and say a few words about Michael Fox, World War I veteran.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for attending the service. I'm sure veterans that we have here today and members of the community forces with us are happy to be here, and we're happy to have you with us. Last night I watched Hockey Night in Canada, and Don Cherry said something about today we're going to remember the real Hall of Famers of Canada. So today we must step back in time and visualize how things might have been 130 years ago. In Ireland around 1800, life was becoming increasingly hard, and people thought about starting a new life in a new country. And the country that many chose was Canada. It must have been difficult for those people to leave their homeland and start a new life in this little known and harsh country. Yet in 1880, Michael Fox and Mary Bradley were married in Wexford, Ireland, and legend has it that they left that same day for the New World. They settled in this tiny community and began their lives right here in Sheenboro, Quebec. Bear with me. Here they raised 12 children. They had 4 girls and 8 boys. And one of the boys was Michael. We are remembering him today, along with all the men and women who have served our country in the past, as well as those that are serving our country today. We're very proud of him. Born on February the 28th, in 1986, Michael was the 3rd eldest in the family, and at the age of 28, he chose to serve his country in the First World War, also known as the Great War, as it was beginning overseas. He enlisted and filed his attestation papers into the Canadian Armed Forces on September the 22nd, 1914, in Valcartier, Quebec. He was assigned to the Canadian Expeditionary Force that left Quebec City and landed in England on October the 25th, 1914. There may be some of these young men, and possibly some young women, that have done the very same thing. We know that now realize that Valcartier and CFB Petawawa play an important role in our history and in the lives of those who serve Canada today. Michael was a small man, 5'7", had blue eyes, blonde hair, and a very big heart. His dedication and commitment earned him the 1914-15 Star, the British War Medal, and a Victory Medal, while serving with the Canadian Infantry, Eastern Ontario Division of the 2nd Battalion. The 2nd Battalion had bloodied itself on February the 20th, 1915, when they faced the realities of trench warfare, as the German army shelled the front-line trenches. By early April, the 2nd Battalion found themselves in Belgium involved in the Second Battle of Ypres, where they saw the horrors of the German gas attacks. It was apparent that the 2nd was headed for no ordinary fight that day. The battalion was virtually destroyed. And I mentioned this to one of my comrades who served 35 years in the World War, in the world with Canadian Armed Forces throughout the world. His only words were, "He's been to hell." On April the 24th, 1915, Michael, along with so many of his comrades, gave their lives for us to enjoy the freedoms we have today. And we can't thank them enough for their courage and their sacrifices. The First World War Book of Remembrance is the largest of the 7 books of the Remembrance housed on Parliament Hill. It contains more than 66,000 names. And in 1917, the then Prime Minister Robert Gordon dedicated the site in the center block of the House of Parliament. This would be a memorial to the dead of our forefathers and to the valor of those Canadians who in the Great War fought for the liberties of Canada, the Empire, and humanity. We know this today as the Peace Tower. The memorial chamber that houses the remembrance books is a beautifully crafted room depicting Canada's record of war. Some of the quarried stones are from Flanders Fields, and the books commemorate Canada's young soldiers, nurses, sailors, mariners, Air Force men and women who lost their lives during times of peace and conflict. Having no known grave, Michael's name is commemorated on the Menin Gate Memorial in Ypres, Belgium. The name of Private Mike Fox, Battalion, 2nd Battalion, is listed on page 15 of the First World War Book of Remembrance, and a grateful nation recognizes his sacrifice every year on January the 20th, when page 15 is displayed for the viewing to the public on the Memorial Chamber on Parliament Hill. So today, please remember the fallen at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, and join me in a salute to the Canadian Armed Forces for keeping us safe, helping other nations in conflict as they work towards making the world a better place. We'll salute you.
Bert McRae, Nora McRae, Patrick Burke, James Keown, Baptiste King, Michael Fox, Charles Tapp. Second World War, Patrick Brennan, James Daly, Dylan Deno, Arnold Downey, Edgar Downey, Leo Downey, Edwin Doyle, John Furlong, Bernard Gleason, Collins Gleason, Patrick Gleason, Lloyd Gleason, Gordon Gray, Alvin Keown, Claude Keown, Dr. Harold Keown, Kenneth Keown, Stanley Keown, Joseph Landers, Lloyd Landers, Larry LaRochelle, Clifford LaValle, Frank Littlejohn, Elwood Morris, Ernest Morris, Kempton Morris, Melvin Morris, Joseph Maloney, Edward McCarthy, James McCool, Joseph McCool, Roy McDonald, Joseph McParland, Margaret Meehan, Sylvester Meehan, Edward Miller, Lewis Miller, Charles Slattery, Mervyn Slattery, Michael Sullivan, Frank Sweeney, Faustin Sweeney, Lorne Sweeney, Joseph Waters, Peter Waters, Corinne War, Lloyd MacLeod, Cyril Morris, James Morris. Acknowledgement of the men from Sheenboro and surrounding community killed in World War I and World War II. Michael Fox, Joseph McCool, Kempton Morris, Lorne Sweeney.
We will now have the placing of the wreaths. So representing the Government of Canada, Roy Perrell. Representing the Canadian military, a member of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Is he related to you? Yeah.
A wreath has been placed by Teresa Fox and Mike Fox. In memory of Lewis Miller, Bob Miller.
Look at Bobby.
In memory of Michael.
An excerpt from For the Fallen, Act of Remembrance. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
And the flags will be lowered.